I want to welcome each and every one of you to our Bible study in the book of Genesis today. We're going to be talking about chapter 38. I'm going to just briefly kind of cover a little bit of chapter 37, just kind of give us a recap of everything. Jacob's sons were out in the field and stuff, and he told Joseph to go out to his brothers, and when he was walking out there to them, they hitched a plot to do what?
Kill him.
To kill him at first, right? And who was the brother that talked him out of killing him?
Reuben.
One of my favorite sandwiches.
Reuben.
It's one of my favorite sandwiches.
Shed no blood. Into the pit.
And Reuben talked him out, and they put him in a pit and stuff. And then these travelers came by and stuff on their way to Egypt, so they sold him into slavery. And they thought they'd been done with him. Now, how did they cover up the story that they to their dad, Jacob, Israel?
They put blood on it.
Yeah,
He was killed.
they killed one of their flock and put the blood on it and took it
It
to.
was a goat, I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, and that kind of goes with that scapegoat. Y'all ever heard of scapegoats?
Frozen
Yeah.
blood.
Yeah. And so we get into chapter 38, and it's not quite Joseph's story yet. We're going to be talking about Judah today and Tamar. And this is an interesting story, and you never really hear it preached in
No.
the pulpits. And there's a reason behind all this.
Taking place.
Yeah. I'm telling you, if Hollywood, to me, Hollywood does not create anything new except horror stories. Y'all ever notice that? Horror movies? But they don't, yeah.
I don't know, according to some of those little videos, they might be looking into the Book of Enoch and getting the horror story.
Yeah, that could be too. Could be too. But if they really wanted to have some good stories, that I would be using the Bible. Because, you got every story under the sun that human beings could ever... And today we're going to talk about it.
There were some plots that would be hard to think of.
This could make one of my granny's soap opera days. When my granny used to watch the Days of Our Lives and all that stuff, So who wants to start out by reading verse 1 and going down to verse 11 there?
And it happened at the time that Judah went down from his brothers and turned aside to a certain Adullamite, whose name was Hera. There Judah saw the daughter of a certain Canaanite, whose name was Shua. He took her and went into her, and she conceived and bore a son, and he called him She conceived again and bore a son, and she called him Onan. Yet again she bore a son, and she called him Shelah. Judah was a Shebit.
She bid.
Was in Shechem when she bore him. And Judah took a wife for his firstborn. Her name was Tamar. But Judah's firstborn was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord put him to death. Then Judah said to Onan, Go into your brother's wife and perform the duty of a brother-in-law to her, and raise up offspring for your brother. But Onan knew that the offspring would not be his, so whenever he went into his brother's wife, he would waste the semen on the ground, so as to not give offspring to his brother. And what he did was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and he put him to death also. Then Judah said to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, Remain a widow in your father's house till Shelah, my son, grows up, for he feared that he would die like his brothers. So Tamar went and remained in her father's house.
Okay, so what we have, Judah, and it's interesting because, we've had some people in the Bible study say, why didn't Jesus come out of Joseph's lineage, right? Because Joseph was, or Benjamin or something like that. Well, God can take a bad thing and turn it into good, right?
Yeah.
So who was Jesus out of, which tribe? It was the tribe of who?
Judah.
Judah. Okay. Was Judah the best guy of the bunch?
Oh,
No.
Well, none of them
He
were
was-
very
Wasn't none of them very good, were they?
that was the
But
Laban
Yeah. But the thing we have to understand is that, again, God can take a bad thing and turn it into his good, okay? So
Yeah.
here Judah goes and he marries a Canaanite. Okay. What was it that his daddy and his granddaddy and what did God,
Very out of the tribe.
what did the Canaanites?
They had idols.
They had idols and different gods and goddesses. That's right. But she bore sons and everything, and the first one was Now,
He was evil.
yeah, so evil that it says that who put him to death?
God. God.
Like I said, would this make a heck of a soap opera story today?
Yeah.
Now, what did he do that was so evil?
That we don't know.
They don't know. He just was a bad boy.
But let's look at it this way. Let's go back to what we talked about before. And ladies, I'm not trying to run y'all down. Y'all know I try to build y'all up. But the reason why God had them marry daughters, that understood who God was to maintain that relationship, right? That covenant that he made with Abraham. When you marry somebody, and like I said, we see this with David, but we really see it with who? Solomon. Solomon really forgets his wisdom and bows to the
Wives.
concubines.
Yeah.
He got tired, and I'm not trying to say this about you ladies, okay? But got tired of the nagging.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think when they had concubines like that, did they have a ceremony or they just?
That,
threw it in?
there was a deal made. There was a deal made. And, I would say probably in the giving of like a king or a prince or somebody when they were making a treaty with another nation that you might have had some sort of ceremony. But yeah, with a concubine, I really don't. It's just probably a trade agreement for this person. I hate to say it, ladies, but y'all were used as chattel, basically.
Bought and sold.
Yeah. And that's terrible. That you ladies were
Slaves.
yeah.
I
But
don't know that would be exactly right because they had a tremendous amount of influence.
well, they did, and
All of them or just particular?
Most of them.
most of them did. And again, but I mean, they were seen as property, really.
Well, that's right, but the thing is, why they had kind of celibacy as a concept even back is because it said that the man would always be trying to please the wife,
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it just, regardless of what,
Well, do we see that today?
well, sure, yeah, I would think.
That a man tries to please the woman?
Depends on the man.
Depends on the man. Yeah. Yeah. There are those that are turds.
Yeah.
That's even on film, so y'all know I call some men turds. I didn't ever tell that you ladies are turds, but we'll use the term my coaches use, druts. That's a turd spelled backwards.
Oh, I was gonna say, I never heard that.
They were
That-
devious.
But you look at the influence. Jezebel with Ahab, right?
Yeah.
Jezebel had a lot of influence over somebody that should have known better. And what did he let her do? He let her put the Asherah poles and basically kill the prophets and clergy of God, so that the clergy of Baal or Baal could be.
Delilah and Samson.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, Delilah. Look, yeah. We talked about Samson last night. Y'all remember him being a Nazarite? He didn't quite follow the rules, did he?
And he knew better.
Yeah. Should have known better. But here it is. And was so wicked that he, God took him out. And so that his next brother, next in line, Onan, came in. And he had to perform the duties of his brother. Now, that's been in culture, even in today's culture. I know a family that I grew up with that the brother died and the next brother married his wife and not only took care of his brother's children, but had his own children with her.
Yeah, but the first children by the first husband inherited the first husband.
Yes, yes. But in this case, this one didn't really, and I'm trying to be as politically correct on this as I can. The Bible spells it out, and like I said, you never hear this being preached on in church, do you? And there's a reason.
They skipped the delegates, huh?
Yeah, well, yeah. He performed the act, but he didn't perform the act
Right. He kept her
from becoming
he
pregnant,
practiced
And he
birth
died
control.
because of it.
and he died because of it.
Yes, he didn't do what God told him to do.
That's right, because it's the continuation of the line. Remember, that's the thing that's to God, right?
Follow the money.
But he was so jealous. Boy, that jealousy and stuff
Always gets you in trouble.
y'all remember that's what started the original fall of the angels, was pride and jealousy. And so, here we're going down the line, but Tamar, she basically lived in Judah's house. Now, here's where it really gets interesting.
Yeah.
So who wants to pick up 12 through 19 there?
I'll read it. In course of time, the wife of Judah, Shua's daughter, died, and when Judah was comforted, he went up to Timnah to his sheep shearers, he and his friend Hira the Adullamite. And when Tamar was told, your father-in-law is going up to Timnah to shear his sheep, she put off her widow's garments and put on a veil, wrapping herself up, and sat at the entrance to the Enim, which is on the road to Timnah. For she saw that Shelah was grown up, and she had not been given to him in marriage. When Judah saw her, he thought her to be a harlot, for she had covered her face. He went over to her at the roadside and said, Come, let me come in to you. For he did not know that she was his daughter-in-law. She said, What would you give me, that you may come in to me? He answered, I will send you a kid from the flock. And she said, Will you give me a pledge till you send it? He said, What pledge shall I give you? She replied, Your signet and your cord and your staff that is in your hand. So he gave them to her and went in to her, and she conceived by him. Then she arose and went away, and taking off her veil, she put on the garments of her widowhood.
Okay, hold right there. Okay, so they're about to have a sheep shearing day, right? Y'all remember the old Chisholm Trail? Have y'all heard of the old Chisholm Trail? What was that?
Well, that was where they herded the cattle up from Texas to, I guess, near Kansas City.
Yeah, because Kansas City had the stockyards and had the rail systems, right?
Right,
So that beef was going all around the country at that time.
right.
John Wayne had a good movie about that, by the way. McClintock, he talked about, and all of his other movies too, kind of talked about that. But especially with cattle farming. But this is sheep shearing. We basically have the same deal. They're going to this city to have all this stuff done. Well, guess at the end of the Chisholm Trail, you know what was waiting on them when the cowboys got their payday?
Saloons,
Saloons and what else?
prostitutes.
And yeah. And they generally were broke by the time they left Kansas City. Because they were in for their own pleasure, right?
Yeah, he was a widow.
Yeah, what do we hear about Judah? What does he notice? Now she's in, don't take me for being wrong, okay? Number one, he's in fault because he's not giving his youngest son to her
Yeah.
to follow up.
hiding it,
Okay?
cause he don't want him to die too.
Yeah, he doesn't want it to lose him too. So, what? She gets the plan of saying, okay, I'm going to get something out of all this.
Trick.
Yeah, because let me ask you this, and I say this here the other day. We had a gentleman come up Wednesday. Mr. Bill was at the door, and I thought it was Mr. Bill as a gentleman. He brought $100 to give to, and he thought it was for orphans. He thought he read that we help out orphans. And I said, well, we help with as an orphan, because that's what the Bible tells us to do, right? And we have. Y'all know we've helped that lady that's up the road there, you know, and stuff with food and stuff when she lost her husband and her son. But that's the reason why you had male children was not just to do what? To keep the name going, but when the dad died, what did the sons do?
Took his place.
Took his place, and they took care of the mother, right?
Yeah.
Till she died. You know, that was one of the things a lot of people talked about Jesus. Jesus left and went to do ministry, but after Joseph died, he being the oldest, it was up to him to do what?
Take care of mother.
Take care of his mother. But Jesus had what? He had siblings, right? Other siblings, and they were able to take care of Mary while he did ministry. Now, this tradition of the sons taking care of their brother's deal, like I said, in the eyes of God, is continuation, not just the name, but also to take care of the widow. You know, and that's. I'm sorry, I'm tired of looking at y'all through this thing right here, but. Anyway, but Judah, she knew that she had to have known her father-in-law pretty well that this man's going to be looking, right?
Yeah, he's a widower.
So he's on it.
I don't understand how you can cover your face and somebody not know you.
Well, that's a good question, isn't it?
Yes, because, I mean, you could cover your face and I would know it was you.
Uh-huh.
You know, even with a mask, I would know it was you,
Mhm.
you know?
But they weren't looking for you.
Well, she was probably wrapped up pretty good.
Yeah.
Because you know, these burqas and everything.
Yeah, they hide.
I mean,
Barely
she
see
might
their
have
eyes.
had a
Full-
this thing across her eyes where she couldn't.
Yeah.
Where she could see, but you couldn't see her eyes.
I'm trying to
He
be.
offers her a goat.
Yeah,
I'll send you a goat.
I'll send you a go. But now listen to what she does though. This is a well played plan,
Oh, yeah.
because she just didn't want the goat.
Yeah, she wanted to send
She wanted to make sure. Okay, let's just be honest. She was wanting to do is make sure that she
Identify.
had a child.
Yeah,
You see, by Judah.
yeah, she wanted something that would definitely say, yep, I did it.
And if he just gave a goat, he could get out of that, right? But what was she asking for? His signet,
His robe,
his cord,
and
and his staff. What was he known by? Those things.
cord and staff.
He could never deny it was not him, right?
Right. You'd have to identify.
Like I said, this makes a heck of a story. Why don't Hollywood use these things? I mean, it's a heck of a.
Why didn't he just get another seal and a cord and a staff that looked like his first one?
Well, I don't know.
You know, they just copied
Those
mine.
things could have been kind of almost inherited.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
They were
passed
Passed
down.
down.
Hugely valuable, because that's how he made his mark, was with that signet.
Exactly.
And I tell you, the price of the kid might not have been as low as you think it was.
No.
Because, I mean, like today, somebody was telling me they sold a kid goat for $500.
Well, yeah, I've seen them at that premium sale, run them up to 800 plus.
Right, so, I mean, you know, I don't know what, and if she had too high a price, he would have said, I don't go with that, and so,
He go find him another one, right?
right. So, but it was a meant to be thing
Mm-hmm.
because,
It's God's plan.
well, see,
That's why it happened.
Tamar is in, Jesus' land.
Yeah, that's what I mean. This is in the lineage of God makes all this right.
He had a plan.
Yeah, he had a plan.
He wanted her to be the.
But let's look at just plans of man here are to deceive, right? But God's plan is to bring what?
Result.
To bring us deliverance of slavery to sin and death through even this stuff, making it right through Jesus Christ. That's the thing we have to realize. All this stuff that happens, it turns out bad, God can turn it into His good, no matter what. And this is all, I mean, we can say what we want to. This is bad. Like I said, you don't ever hear this preached out of the pulpit.
Well, if they slept together,
Mhm.
that was God's plan. Well, they weren't married. So is that a sin?
Well, I mean,
I mean, can he,
you
You ain't got the whole story yet.
yeah.
oh, okay. Well,
What I'm saying in this case is this, and I'm taking this from having discussions with rabbis and stuff that I've talked about. Because man, I've always wondered, like, how do y'all see this? Because let's just be honest. When we're looking at different things, I mean, starting with Abraham, was his first child with his wife? No.
Hagar.
Yeah. And she was a maidservant, right? And we look at Joseph's lineage, was all them his two wives? No, they were some from his maidservants and different things. And now we're looking at Judah went out and,
Fool around.
Found somebody at the gate.
yeah, found somebody at the gate. That's a good way to put it.
She looks willing.
The red light district. Y'all have heard that.
She looks easy.
But again, God, talking to the rabbis and stuff, you know, they don't really get into that much, you know.
Let's just forget that part.
Yeah. They just try to see how God makes it into His good.
Yeah.
And
Proves that He can use anything and everything.
because who's going to come out of all this?
Jesus.
I mean, eventually Jesus, but who else comes out of it? David, Solomon. I mean, when we start looking at the lineage here, I mean, God takes a bad thing and turns it into good. Because this, I'm going to be honest, this is deception on everybody's part. Okay?
couldn't trust anybody.
Yeah. Now, she puts on her widow's garment. She goes back home and everything. But she's pregnant now.
Yeah.
Okay? So let's get into verse 20. And who wants to read down to 26 there?
When Judah sent the young goat by his friend Adullamite to take back the pledge from the woman's hand, he did not find her. And he asked the man of the place, "Where's the cult prostitute who was Enam at the roadside?" And they said, "No cult prostitute has been here." So he returned to Judah and said, "I have not found her." Also the men said that of the place that no cult prostitute has been here. And Judah replied, "Let her keep the things as her own, or we shall be laughed at. You see, I sent this young goat, and you did not find her." About 3 months later, Judah was told, "Tamar, your daughter-in-law, has been immoral. Moreover, she is pregnant by immorality." And Judah said, "Bring her out and let her be burned." As she was being brought out, she sent word from her father-in-law, "By the man to whom these belong, I am pregnant. Please identify whose these are, the signet, cord, and the staff." Then Judah identified him and said, "She is more righteous than I, since I did not give her to my son Shelah," and he did not know her again.
Okay. This wasn't just a place. My Bible, yours says cult. Here's what my Bible, I don't know what y'all's Bible says. It says that temple prostitute. Now, y'all know that in some cultures and some religions, they had prostitutes in their temples, right? That was one thing that got God mad, because when the temple of God was being used by all these gods and goddesses, they even had prostitutes in the temple.
Mine says shrine.
Yeah. And so, man, he's way out of bounds here, right? He's not thinking anything about God. What is he thinking about?
Covering his behind,
His own pleasure, right?
and he don't wanna
Now,
admit it.
now, Miss Netha, you asked a question about, and Miss Martha, about, face covering and stuff like it. I got a funny feeling that it wasn't he was sober when he did all this,
Yeah,
because what's the song? He sings way down yonder in the Chattahoochee. Alan Jackson sings about waking up the next day. Yeah, waking up the next day. After taking somebody home. They get better looking near closing time.
Yeah, Nikki Gilligan was like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
all the girls get prettier,
near closing time. Why is that?
Because they're drunk.
They're drunk,
they're
inebriated.
less off.
Yeah. And so, I don't know if this all happened to Judah, because we don't know. But something happened. He didn't recognize who she was.
Well, yeah,
And he'd been looking for her to make the debt right. He sent his servant to pay the debt and get his stuff.
just remember that.
And this is the reason, we kind of wonder why she did what she did, asking for what she asked. This was the reason, because if she'd been caught in, she'd been killed,
Yeah, burn.
burned,
She had to prove it.
had to prove it. And this left him with no way out, right?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Well, if she was to be burned, I think he should have been burned.
Well, that's, think about this. Let's kind of jump ahead a little bit here, because we're looking at the law, right? Now, the law of Moses hadn't yet been established, but the law of God has.
Look at the Scarlet Letter.
Yeah,
Who was at fault?
yeah,
Both of them.
both of them. Well, the woman that got caught in the act of adultery when they brought to Jesus, what did the law, you remember I told y'all, they were trying to get Jesus. They were trying to get him. Nobody could put anybody to death except who? Well, the Romans during Jesus' time. The Romans were the only one that could really put anybody to death. Now, in the law of Moses, when they were trying to get Jesus, what did the law actually state?
Had to be stoned.
It had to be stoned, but what did it say? Both the man and woman caught in the act of adultery were to be brought forth, put on trial, and then found guilty, then stoned, right?
Yeah.
Well, when they brought the woman up, this is the one thing I tell people all the time, where was the dude?
Yeah, where's the man?
He had a rock in his hand.
Yeah.
Right.
And I wouldn't say just one dude. I'd say probably a lot of the dudes around that woman that day had a rock in their hand, right?
Mouth shut.
And when he said, for those that are without sin, cast the first stone, what did they start doing?
They nailed
Dropping the rocks.
Dropping the rocks.
So Jesus read their mail, and probably some of them standing in that crowd knew that she was a prostitute because they had been with her. Okay?
That quote's been quoted a lot of times since that day.
Mm-hmm. But again, Jesus didn't let it. He put it back on them, right? This is what Tamar is doing to Judah, because Judah, y'all can imagine he's angry because she broke the covenant with his family.
Yeah, he had to say
Yeah, and then now he's got to save face.
And he don't wanna admit that he did it.
Because she said, oh, really? Well, whose disease belong to?
Yeah.
This is the guy that impregnated me.
Yeah.
Who do you think it belongs to?
Can you imagine his shock and awe?
Oh crap.
Mm-hmm. But, you know, Judah did not ever sleep with her again. But what comes out of this? She's able to have a child, right?
Twins.
Twins.
Yeah, twins. And she's able to do what? She's able to have people that's going to take care of her for the remainder of her life, right?
Yeah, you don't have to live in her.
Not just Judah's family, but once Judah passes away, then
She's got
her sons are there to take care of her. But what happens after that? I mean, like I said, we go down the line, we see David, we see Solomon, we see eventually Jesus coming out of all this. Out of something that was bad, and it's bad, because there's a lot of lies, deception, and a whole lot of trickery going on here. God makes it into his good because Jesus eventually comes out of this line. Mm-hmm. Now I'm going to finish 27 down at the end. When the time for her delivery came, there were twins in her womb. While she was in labor, one put out a hand, and the midwife took and bound on the hand a crimson thread, saying, "This one came out first." But just then he drew back his hand, and out came his brother. And she said, "What a breach you have made for yourself." Therefore he was named Perez. Therefore afterwards his brother came out with the crimson thread on his hand, and his name was Zerah. Now, Perez is in what line? Does anybody know?
Can't remember.
He's going to be in that line of Jesus. If I'm right, and I could be wrong, but I think it's not. I don't think it's Zerah that is in that line. I think it's Perez that is in that line.
So did Perez marry someone, a female that was in Jesus' line, or how did?
Well, I mean, he's out of Judah. I mean, he's the son of Judah. He's a Jew.
Well,
Yeah.
but it's in
But they were
Matthew, isn't it?
Yes. If
It'd
so,
be interesting to know that for sure.
somebody wants to look that up, I mean,
Perez, the father of Hezron. Hezron was the father of Ram. Ram was the father of Amminadab, father of Nahshon. Nahshon was the father of Salmon. Salmon was the father of Boaz.
so here we go.
Boaz
Like I
was the
said,
father
Perez
of
was
Obed.
in that.
Obed was the father of Jesse. Jesse was the father of David.
David. So we see that this lineage from Judah comes through. Actually, Zerah was the first one to reach his hand out, but then he went back in, and then here comes Perez, right,
Right.
to be fully born. Now,
But they were both boys. They
Mhm.
were both sons of Judah. So why weren't they both of the line of?
well, they are, but Jesus, that would have been his uncle,
Yeah.
So it wasn't
whatever down the
direct-
line,
it
uncle.
wasn't
Right,
direct.
Yeah, direct descendant, direct line, and everything.
Kind of like Isaac.
But this was not the first instance of this kind of a situation because,
What was the one before it?
well, it was where the harlot that let the spies into Jericho.
Down the line. Yeah, we're going to see Rahab
And
the harlot.
then later on was David and Bathsheba.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, God makes things that are bad into his good, right? And it's not just one thing in the line of Jesus.
Well, it's like in genealogy, everybody says, I'm a descendant of an Indian princess. Not necessarily.
Well, let me just say this. How many of us in our lineage have in-laws and outlaws?
Oh, amen.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, not always something to be proud of.
No, I mean, you might have an ancestor that was a horse thief, but you had one that was mayor, or they could have been both.
And you can't,
You know what I'm saying?
can't look back and say, well, his lineage was all upper class.
Why did Wyatt Earp have to get out of Arkansas?
Not familiar with that story.
He had 10 folks in?
Well, no, somebody said that he was a horse thief.
Oh, really?
It probably was.
But what did we see Wyatt Earp as?
Good guy,
Yeah,
should have wore a white hat.
yeah. Bass Reeves. How many of y'all have ever heard of Bass Reeves?
Yeah, watch the series.
He's the United States Marshal under Judge Isaac Parker. He has to go out and get his own kid. Did y'all know that? His own son committed murder because he caught his wife in the act of adultery, and he shot her and the guy. Now, I don't know if she shot her, but he shot the guy. And so they issued a warrant out for his arrest, and Bass told everybody, says, "I'll go get him." And he went and got his own son.
Knew where to find him.
But Bass Reeves is the one that they say is the Lone Ranger was
Yeah,
taken from
Yeah.
because of what all Bass did and stuff. But he was a black man, and that wouldn't look good for her. But that's why the Lone Ranger wore the mask, the black mask. That's how the people. It's an interesting story.
yeah, they would accept.
But they wouldn't accept a black guy being a hero in those days on radio and television. Let's get into this one, chapter 39. I know we won't get very far in it, and I'll go ahead and pick it up. It says, "Now Joseph was taken down to Egypt to Potiphar, the officer of the Pharaoh, the captain of the guard. An Egyptian bought him from the Ishmaelites who had brought him down there. And the Lord was with Joseph, and he became a successful man and was in the house of the Egyptian master. His master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord caused all that he did to prosper in his hands." So what was meant for Joseph's bad is starting to turn out good, right?
Part of the plan.
Even though he's a slave sold in the hands of Potiphar, he's sold into a good house, right?
Yeah.
And a good master.
Well, he had to go there to get where he needed to be.
Yeah. And what does it say here from the moment that he sold to Potiphar? That the Lord is what?
With
With him.
him, and everybody could see that.
And everybody can see it. So what is God doing here? He's not just helping Joseph out. He's allowing his presence to be known by everybody, right? Through Joseph.
But
See
we
what
don't see that any of these people decided to worship.
Exactly. But what does God tell us to do?
Be a light,
To be a light. What is Christian? What does the word Christian mean?
Christ-like.
Christ-like, so that people see Christ in us, right? So what were the Egyptians seeing? They were seeing God in Joseph, right? But Richard, you're exactly right. God gave them an opportunity. Just like he does everybody. You know, everybody wonders about why people won't accept God or Jesus into their heart. It's not sometimes that they're not shown God or Jesus, right?
That's right.
But they have to make that choice, don't they? They've got it. Down the line, when we're talking about down the line to the Babylonian captivity, think about this. How many times was Nebuchadnezzar shown the power of God?
Well, he admitted God.
Yes, he did.
And actually, factually, you could kind of build a little bit of a case that maybe he was a convert.
We talked about Constantine last night. Y'all remember that?
Right.
And y'all remember the story it goes that God gave him a dream that if he was to put the P and the X on the shields of his soldiers, go forth and conquer in this sign, that he'd win the day and win the battle. And then that's how Christianity started to become favored. Y'all heard me say this. He played He played a little bit of everybody, right?
Fed-
And that's the sad part. They don't, Richard, they don't give themselves wholeheartedly to God sometimes.
But in the end, the story goes that Constantine
Yeah.
decided to be baptized
Yeah.
even on his deathbed.
Yeah, on his deathbed, yeah. But I mean, how many people could have God early in their life? And like I said, it's not that we don't go through trials and tribulations. How many of y'all have gone through trials and tribulations? I got saved when I was 11 years old, and I've gone through hell and back. And I know y'all have too. It's not an easy road, is it?
Well, the problem is more with us than with,
Exactly. It's not God, it's us.
we don't have the faith to claim the abundant life,
Yes.
which is above all of this.
Yes. And that's the story that we need to be told to people is God has a way where there seems to be no way. God is the way, the truth, and the life. That's what we got to tell them. But it's not a bed of roses. It's not a yellow brick road.
It's not always gonna be easy.
It's not always going to be easy because we get involved in it.
Right, no, that's correct, but here's the thing that is the promise in the abundant life,
Mm-hmm.
that all of these things will,
Come to our good.
the fact that all this pain and suffering, although that's not removed from us, we will triumph over it.
Yes.
For the glory of God, that's the abundant life.
Yes.
And you know, that's the thing that I'm not saying that just to you, but I mean, we all need to be thinking about the abundant life. And I'm thinking way back from the very first, I've not heard but a few sermons just describing and discussing and promoting the abundant life.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not sure that everybody understands it very well, or that, and I'm not sure I do, but I just believe that once you enter into the abundant life, that is the eternal life, that is also a life
Well,
of service to Christ, and He will make all these other things not go away, but not be a principal problem for you in your life,
Well,
because you love God.
let's look at the book of Hebrews. When we look at the book of Hebrews, it tells the story of all these people we're talking about, right? And what does it say? They might not have seen all this in their time period. You see?
Right.
They might not all seen the promises of God in their earthly moment, right? But what can they do now when they're up in heaven and they can look down? You think Abraham could think about how many descendants, millions and millions of descendants that he has on this earth right now? He couldn't possibly imagine that at that moment, but he could see it now.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, that abundant life. And going back to what we're saying here with Judah and Tamar, and even Joseph. When Joseph's, he's still a slave, and a slave really don't see the goodness yet, right? Because they're still a slave. That's the thing, and it's really sad about real history. When we're talking about slavery in the United States, a lot of the slaves were well treated
Well,
and seen as family members even.
Well, but it's just like this. Now I know a balky mule can sometimes get a tooth pulled by his head,
Mm-hmm.
but generally speaking, you're not gonna beat on your mule if you don't pay a big price for him.
Exactly. But what is the commonality that people talk about when they talk about slavery?
The brutality.
The brutality, right? And I'm not saying it's not there, because it was.
Well, yeah.
Well, there's the expression getting sold down the river.
Yeah.
And that was actually portrayed in Uncle Tom's Cabin.
Yes.
Which may not have been exactly, factual, but that did happen.
Mm-hmm.
If you were a rebellious,
Yeah, they wanted you off their property.
they sold you down the river.
Yeah.
They were evil people.
And there you go. That's the thing. What I'm saying, Richard, I know what you're saying about the abundant life, because like I said, God can take a bad that's in our life and turn it into our good too. You know, that's the abundant life through Jesus Christ. If we allow God to work and stuff, God can make these things good for us, even when, because that's what God's done in my life. You know, all this bad stuff that's happened in my life, God has turned, you know, part of me wants to be the first monkey in the seat to get in the time machine, go back in time, and give somebody $100 to beat me up and give me this note saying, don't do this, 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 and this.
Yeah, do-overs.
Because, you know, according to Einstein,
Do
and
that.
you dadgum right I would.
I wouldn't, because I thought about that.
Well,
I'd be where I am today if I hadn't done that.
that's my
That's how I look at it.
here's what I do. I would go back to the end of World War II, and I would buy up all the plane ships and everything like that, and invest in all. And go. Actually, I'd go before Rockefeller and buy up all the leases. And
Stock market.
yeah, that's what I would do. And then I'd buy up all the planes and tanks and everything left over
Go back
war
to the
surplus.
70s and buy Walmart stock for 25
I'd buy the USS Arkansas, the battleship, and I would put it, if it would come up, at least to Memphis, you know, at the Arkansas on the Memphis Mississippi River, there, as a war memorial, because the USS Arkansas got sunk in Bikini Atoll at the hydrogen thermonuclear bomb and stuff. So yeah, I know that stuff I do, and I'd save the Enterprise and all that kind of stuff from being scrapped and everything, because I love history and I'd want people to see history, you know, all of it. But you know, again, we got to see, you're talking about that abundant life, Richard. When we let God work things out, God makes a way where there seems to be no way. My problem is with pastors that say this, that if you accept Jesus Christ, there's no more problems in your life.
No.
Well,
No,
and
that isn't the definition of abundant life.
no, but that's what they see it.
Well, but in a way, it is true because God removes the sting of all that.
Yes,
And and brings you through it through His power and grace.
and our trust by faith.
And a trust by faith. And faith is one of the main keys.
Yes,
And forgiveness.
but let's look at Judah for a moment. When he was confronted by Tamar, can you imagine
Oops.
how he didn't see God at that moment?
Yeah.
What did I do?
Could he see the promise of Jesus coming down the road, or
No,
He was
David or something? No, he was thinking, oh,
I'm waiting.
Crack.
yeah.
He was embarrassed.
Yeah,
But
I'm-
she helped him save face.
She did.
She kept him from being embarrassed.
Yeah.
In public.
But, you know, that's the thing. Like with Joseph here, I mean, I could read all this, but let's just sum it up because we all know the story. What happens in Potiphar's house? Potiphar's wife gets the hot for Joseph. Right? And when Potiphar's gone, what does she do?
She comes on to him.
Yeah,
She's jealous.
and a matter of fact, she grabs hold of his loincloth and rips it completely off of him.
Shouldn't like to be turned down.
No, she didn't. Now, let me share one thing with y'all. In Egyptian law at that time, if you committed adultery, that was an act of death. Particularly if you were a slave.
Yeah.
That was a dead man sentence.
She was jealous of him.
And here's Potiphar. You kind of, when you read the story here, and we'll cover it when everybody, you know, we get. But I'm gonna kind of, because we're closing up on time here. But I want us to think about this coming into our next time and when we meet again next week. This is the thing that really gets people. Joseph was a chaste man and followed God no matter what. And what did God do? He saved him time after time after time. That's that abundant life you're talking about.
Right.
Because this, like I said, this was a death sentence.
Right.
And in Potiphar had to know his wife was like this, because
Oh, yeah. He said,
he didn't go ballistic and say, I'm going to kill you.
He said, yeah, she did it.
He put him in prison, right?
Right.
He had to know his wife was something else. Y'all remember the show Dynasty?
Again, yeah.
Probably like Joan Collins. Y'all remember old Joan Collins back in the day?
Keep under the porch.
Yeah. or Dallas. Y'all ever watch Dallas and all the
Yeah.
Juda'd be like old JR.
That big thing on Who Shot JR?
Who shot? Oh yeah, man, that was one of the most watched, series openers. Who shot JR?
Kristen.
Yeah. But you think about this. These are stories, and what you're saying, Richard, I wholeheartedly agree. This is the stuff people need to hear because they could see that God does work this stuff out for our abundant life and benefit.
And believe that he
Can
does.
take our mistakes, and if we truly repent and change and everything, we can overcome.
It proves he has a plan.
Yeah, he has a plan. I've told y'all numerous times in history, when you look at battles and things that should not have gone the way they went. My big one, I could take Gettysburg, I could take, Stonewall Jackson getting shot at Chancellorsville and dying from pneumonia, and it changing the battles of Gettysburg. I could take it. But my big one is Midway. Think about this, the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean. And there ain't nothing out there except these two little old islands.
Yeah.
And how did this dive bomber squadron see this Japanese destroyer, which a destroyer is still a big ship if you're a human being, but it isn't as big as a carrier or battleship or anything, and it is skirting 30 plus knots going down and not zigzagging, but how did they see that?
God invited help.
Because they were running out of gas.
Yeah, they were out of gas.
And then what happened? All the planes before had been shot down pretty much. It had been a disaster for the United States. Both the Marines and Army bombers that were there on Midway, the three carrier groups, torpedo bombers that attacked, it had been a total disaster. But what happened when those dive bombers got there? They found it
All of them.
all sitting right there like ducks on the water. And it's in a matter of a few minutes, the entire war in the Pacific changed.
Turning point.
That's God, okay? That's the thing I tell people. You look at the Battle of Britain. The decisions that were made there were stupid. But what was it? God confused the evil, right?
Yeah.
But he also gave hope to the good.
Yeah.
In the midst of the darkest moment in human history. So that's what I'm telling people. God has an ultimate plan. And we know this through our Revelations teaching, right? God has an ultimate plan. We've got to see that, and we've got to share with people, hey, because a lot of people hear that frou-frou message, and I'm not saying that's what you're talking about here.
No.
I'm just saying there's a lot of preachers out there preaching the prosperity message
Yeah, they were.
that when people get into a jam, they're like, okay, where's this God you're talking about? And stuff. We need to teach people that God's going to be with you. You're going to go through this stuff, but God's going to bring you out stronger than when you went in.
Your hand the whole time.
That's that refined by fire. Y'all have heard me talk about the Japanese katana being folded and heated and folded and hammered and folded, just like y'all do on those rail systems and those cars and stuff. You got to get everything right. You got to get every impurity out of it, not imperfection. Because if you don't, what happens when you start taking that train down the track? It's going to derail.
Yeah.
Or that car's going to snap in two. Right?
Well, and they put a chill on the rail, and they put a chill on the wheel.
Mhm.
And that's what allows it to roll and wear as long as it does.
Uh-huh. And see, that's the thing about all this. When we see these stories, we see how God, and put yourself in there. That's what I try to do when I read these stories. I try to put myself in their shoes. I'm trying to put myself in Joseph's shoes when, hey, here's a woman hitting on him.
You ain't gonna get me, woman. Devil, get behind me.
Well, a lot of this is a test of faith.
It is. And staying strong according to God, because it would have been easy for Joseph to just said, okay, you're the mistress of the house, I'll do whatever you say, right?
Yeah.
Think about that.
But he could have died because of
And
it.
he could have died because of it.
And she might have ultimately wanted him out of there.
Mm-hmm. But think of this. How much of this do we see in our situation, not in ours, but in people's situations today in life, when they have a choice to make and they take the easy road out, but it leads to death?
Well, and you know, to me, the story of Joseph is similar in some ways to Daniel.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah, because Daniel was told, if you don't do this, we're about to throw you in with a bunch of hungry lions.
right, and then later on, his kind of cohorts
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Yeah.
put them actually in the fire.
Yeah. And that's the thing about God is if we trust God, God's going to see us through this. And I'm just going to be honest with y'all. It might cost us our life. You know, we were talking about those persecutions in the early church and stuff up till Constantine, the
What
Edict
did
of Milan.
Paul say? But to die is gain.
Gain.
Yeah, that's what I was.
But some people don't look at that, though, Richard. You know, people look at this world being all there is. But this world is just a blink of an eye.
This is not our home.
This is not eternity.
They think if someone kills you, well, that's
And that's the
the
thing.
best thing that can
Yeah.
happen to you, not about you going to heaven or anything.
Exactly. Because most people can't get that concept of heaven. Concept of heaven is, that is our goal. You know, it's just like running a race. When you're in the starting blocks, oh man. Now, I was a sprinter, okay? God did not make me a thoroughbred. He made me a quarter horse. And a quarter was all I was good for, okay? That open quarter and the mile relay was the last event of the night, and I guess who they stuck on that, and I hated it. Didn't get,
If it hadn't been for you, there wouldn't have been that word.
yeah. So I was the first one in the blocks to run the mile relay, and anyway, when you're looking at that end of that where you're handing off, okay, which would be the right around the finish line, but it's a long way around that track, and then you got all these other people around you, and you're trying to beat them and trying to have the best time and everything. But you got to gauge yourself. You can't run just flat out. Because if you run flat out, guess what's going to happen at the end?
You're not gonna make it.
You're going to peter out at the end, and, you know. So you have to learn. My strategy was, you know, I took it a little bit easier in the straights, but around the curve, it's kind of like those, y'all watch them NASCAR deals. I always liked the curve, man. I'd kick it in the curve because I could lean. You know, I could lean in that curve. That's why I like the 200 meter, you know, the 880 or the 200 meters, because I got a curve and I could really kick it in and then stretch it in the straight, you know, and stuff. But at the same time, you're looking at that finish line, that goal, and that's the ultimate goal. Heaven is that ultimate goal that you're talking about, Miss Martha. Heaven, and a lot of people can't see it. All they can see is, it's kind of like when you know, when you're using a plow horse or mules and stuff, you got to put blinders on them. You don't need to be looking around, because when you start looking around,
You veer.
Right.
yeah, you got to look straight ahead. And what happens in life is when people are hit with these situations and circumstances, if they're not trained to put those blinders on and see God, then what happens? They get lost sometimes. And that's the sad part about what we have not taught to people, that God is there to give you that abundance. He's there to give you that ultimate, which is heaven. But we've got to be focused on Him at all times. We can't get caught up in, and I'll be honest with you, I have been guilty of getting caught up. Because
We all have.
yeah, I mean, and like I said, God's been jerking a knot in my rear lately. Focus on Him.
Pay attention.
Yeah. this stuff that's going on, hey, this is for a short time. I know y'all got to go. I know you guys got to go, but think about this in our lives. How many of us has God had to jerk a knot into? And why is it that we listen? It's because we've been through it time and time again, and He's got us through it time and time again.
I remember an old man I worked with, and he had an expression, and he'd shake his head and said, "It won't work that way."
No.
And that's what we have to recognize. We're not with God. It won't work that other way.
Exactly. And, that's the thing about all these stories in the Bible. When the people did not trust in God, again, what happened to Judah's 2 sons? They were wicked. Why were they wicked? They weren't listening to God, were they?
Something.
Why did Samuel become the successor of... help me out here. He had 2 sons, and they were horrible. They were messing stuff up in the tent.
They were priests, yeah.
Yeah, they were priests, and God didn't want them. Anyway, it was his mentor and stuff. His children were not the best in the world, so God passed them on by and put Samuel, who was a person that was by faith, right? Because his mama wasn't having children,
Yeah.
and the other wife... Now, let's go back to that moment, because we always talk about this stuff about women in the house and how things... Okay, there was one right there. She was in distress because of the other lady in the house. Right?
Yeah.
And they were mocking her. Her children were mocking her. And so she cried out to the Lord, and the Lord blessed her with Samuel. And Samuel was one of the main prophets. He's, like I said, transfer point from being a prophet, a judge to a prophet, right? And what does it say about Samuel? Nothing that he said ever fell to the ground. Everything came out of his mouth was right on the button.
The word.
Yeah. And that's the reason why the people of Israel, when he would come to the different towns and communities and stuff, they'd ask him, "How do you come?
Yeah.
How do you come?" Well, that's all I got today. Does anybody have any questions or comments?